on another road trip, headed out to look at a piece of equipment. I'm always looking on Craigslist and Marketplace for a chipper shredder, or basically an industrial sized chipper, and an excavator with a thumb. One of the smaller excavators would be fine. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but having the thumb on it it's kind of a deal breaker for me, at least, because I want to be able to pick stuff up with it, move branches and stuff around. But those are pretty expensive. The chipper shredders, or chippers, or whatever you want to call them, the older industrial ones are pretty inexpensive if you're looking on Craigslist and you kind of catch them when they first come on. So I seen this one on Craigslist yesterday, sent the guy a message, asked him if I could come see it today. It's about 2 hours and 45 minutes away from my house, so it's not really close, but I couldn't just run right over there when I saw the ad. I wish I could have, but it's still there, so we'll make this little road trip, and hopefully he hasn't sold it by the time we get there. It's a 1977 model. It's got a Ford 330 V8 in it, I think. Most of them you find on Craigslist have a Ford 300. It's a straight six. I don't know much about different motors. I did a little bit of research on the Ford 300 last night, and apparently they used to use them a lot in U-Hauls back in the 60s and 70s or something like that. So it's got to be a decent motor, I would hope. Hopefully the motor doesn't smoke, and hopefully it's a decent deal, because I hate to drive almost 3 hours one direction to find out somebody's pulling your chain. We'll see. There isn't much else going on right now. It's cold and the wind's going, so I can't really work outside. I can't say it would be a wasted day if I didn't buy it, because I don't know what I would have gotten done outside, and there's not really anything inside to work on. Kind of waiting for the weather to get better before I can even start putting the greenhouse together. I gotta pour the pads for that still. Well, I made it out there. Got out there and looked at it. It's dumping rain out here, so I didn't get my camera equipment out to film the demo. But I brought those two basically tops of trees, a little bit less than 6 inches in diameter each one. One was oak, one was pine. And it ate the pine branch up like it was nothing. It does need a couple springs to make it run to its optimum efficiency and actually feed correctly. But you can push the stuff in and it runs just fine. It'll chip the stuff up, throw big chunks out the top, and it runs fine, doesn't smoke. Antifreeze is clean, the oil's clean. I don't see anything wrong with it, other than it being older, which is fine with me. He's done a lot to it to make it, or to keep up on it. The belts are new, all the gauges are new. So it looks like a pretty good piece of equipment. I brought my trailer out, not knowing anything about a chipper. I figured I'd throw it on my trailer and trailer at home. That way I wouldn't have to worry about the condition of the tires or the bearings or anything like that in this old chipper. But the wheelbase on the chipper is what I measured at 86 inches on the outside. And the inside of my fender wells on my trailer is only 80.5 inches. So it wouldn't fit. I mean, it would have fit on the back part of my trailer, but this chipper weighs, he was saying that he thinks it weighs about 3,000 pounds. And I didn't feel comfortable loading 3,000 pounds in the back of my trailer for fear of getting a little whip out of my trailer as I'm driving it home. So I trust the guy enough. He seemed like a pretty straight up guy, nothing shady going on. So I left my trailer there and I'm towing the chipper home right now. We made it back. No problems, no flat tires, nothing broke apart, fell apart, nothing like that. Here's the machine. 1977, I forget what brand it is, chipper. It's industrial, meant for somebody who's going to start their own business. He's done some work to it. He put all new gauges on it, put a new throttle button, that little black thing with the red button in the middle, that's for your throttle. Pull it out, it idles the motor up. New belts on it. He did tell me a couple quirks about the machine. Number one, the automatic choke doesn't work, and he doesn't know why. I'm not a mechanic. I might be able to figure it out though. He says it's not a big deal though. When it's super cold out, take the top of the air cleaner off, push the flap closed, put the top of the air cleaner back on and fire it up. It automatically opens up. So he says it starts up and runs just fine. He started it up for me. We ran a piece of pine through it that was, I'd say it was at least that big around, and it just wanted to chew it up. The only thing it doesn't do is the automatic feed. It's supposed to have a couple springs attached to the side here. I'll give you a little close-up of that. So that little rod, that bolt, that's supposed to have a spring on it. And what that does is there's like a shelf, I want to say, inside. And when you put a bigger branch in, that shelf kind of drops down as it starts feeding in, and it chews it up. And as it chews it up, the spring picks the shelf up and chews up all the branch and as it feeds it through. I've got one sample spring. He said when he got it, it worked for about 2-3 weeks before those springs broke. And what he did, I guess his cousin or his brother has a landscaping business, and he has another one of these machines, only a newer model. And I guess in the newer models, they don't have the spring that drops down. It just has a shelf in there that's permanent, like a solid state shelf. So he took the measurements off how high the blade was supposed to be away from that shelf, made this one that way, and tack welded it into place so it doesn't move. He showed me where he welded it. It's nothing that I can't grind the welds out if I want to buy the springs. I can grind the welds out and put the springs on, and it'll work like it's supposed to. The drum inside there has 4 blades on it, and I've got 2 extra sets of blades with this machine. And you can sharpen them. The way they're made, you can sharpen them because you can adjust how much hangs out. He showed me how to adjust it, if I change the blades, everything about it. Over on this side over here, you've got your gas tank. This little diamond plate piece of steel is actually a gas tank. That's the reason there's a gas cap there. I don't know how much fuel it holds. He says it's got about 4 to 5 gallons in it right now, and it looks about 2/3 full. So it'll hold a decent amount of fuel. It is a V8. It's a Ford 330 V8. There's a motor right there. V8 power. It's got just the headers to whatever those cherry bombs, whatever you want to call them, straight out. It's not super loud, surprising. I thought it would be a lot louder. That big side panel covers those belts, so you can't fall into it. I'd be a little concerned if I didn't have that side panel. I would probably make one, just because my kids like to be out in the yard with me when I'm working, and I wouldn't want to have one of them accidentally trip and fall into that. So here's the spare sets of blades. One comes in a cardboard box. The other comes in this nice little wooden box. Nothing too special about them, just pieces of steel. I guess when you sharpen them, you want to make sure they're straight because they sit in the machine straight. But they're still a lot of use to them. There's a spring, one of the broken springs. Gives me an idea. I do have a phone number of the place he found that can make the springs. So I might give them a call and see what they can do for me. So I also had this binder with all the owner's manuals, I guess the service records, all kinds of receipts and what was done on the machine. That's about all there is to it, guys. I finally got a good shipper. Inexpensive. Looks like it's in good running order. Looks like the guy really took care of it. I'll have to go back there tomorrow and pick up my trailer